Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is J.R. Moore coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks on Tuesday, the 3rd day of October, year of our Lord 2017. Welcome to the John Moore Show. We're going to open lines this first hour. We'll be focusing on the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution. The second hour we'll have Mr. Leon Green. We'll talk about health-related matters. Prepper tip of the day. There's an excellent movie that was just released a few weeks ago. I've seen about 1/3 of it and watched the trailer. I'll finish the rest of it this morning when my show is over. Here's the title of it, In Search of Liberty. Pretty simple, In Search of Liberty. The website where you can check it out and purchase it is insearchofliberty.com. That's insearchofliberty.com. Excellent movie, very professionally shot, Hollywood quality. This needs to be in every home in the United States, in my opinion. I'll be interviewing people related to this production soon. I can't say when, but soon. And it's well worth your time, well worth a few bucks to get yourself a copy of this. Maybe several copies. Quite seriously, every family should have their very own DVD version of this. All right. In case you've been in a cave the last 2 days, we had the largest mass shooting in the history of the country Sunday evening, just before midnight local time in Las Vegas. 72 minutes of carnage. Within hours, I'm going to say by noon, the following morning, by noon, we had people like Hillary Clinton and others beginning their mantra about gun control. Hillary was talking about how if this man had machine guns equipped with silencers, how the carnage would have been worse because people wouldn't be able to hear it. Well, there's two problems with that. First of all, the silencer doesn't make a firearm silent. The second of all, you can't put silencers on machine guns because they get too hot too fast, and, well, you can't do it. But the truth doesn't matter, does it? I need to get a hold of Larry Pratt, the former head of Gun Owners of America. He's now sort of the retired, semi-retired professor, I guess you could say, from Gun Owners of America. His sons took over the helm. But Larry is still active. I know Larry. We've met and talked personally a number of times. I'll get him on the show as soon as possible to talk about some of the details. But us Americans, we will see over the next few weeks and months, probably up until at least Thanksgiving, and maybe until the end of the year, unprecedented attacks on the Second Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America. Unprecedented. The wailing and gnashing of teeth began, as I said, within hours of the shooting. They were still collecting bodies from the battleground when the anti-gun people were making their statements. We had one former congresswoman standing in front, making a statement in front of TV cameras in front of the U.S. Congress, and when she was finished, that was Gabby Gifford, by the way, she turned to face the Constitution and raised her clenched fist, demanding they take action. So here's what we need to do. If you don't belong to Gun Owners of America, you need to belong. If you don't belong to the National Rifle Association, you need to belong. Another group worthy of your time and money is Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership, JFPO, Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership. They've done some of the best cutting-edge research and publications of any group, despite being as small as they are. They're diligent in getting to truth. Very diligent. And all these groups deserve your time and your money. They really do. You need to get active locally. Seriously, you do. Your congressman, whatever district you might live in, I would put together a small group of maybe 3 or 4 people, men and women who live in the district that you live in, the congressional district. Make an appointment to speak to a staff member. If you can get in to talk to the congressman, that's wonderful, but it's difficult to do so. It really is difficult. But I would make an appointment to meet with the staff member of your congressman or congresswoman and have a short list of talking points that you want to talk to this staff person about when you go there. You're 3 or 4 people. They should be dressed like they're going to Sunday school or going to a wedding. Seriously, they should. And it helps to have people, it's not necessary, but it helps to have people who would be known to the congressman as influential within their community. Who would this be? Well, it would be business owners, teachers, pastors, maybe a member of the a local elected official, no matter what level they are, a committeeman or committeewoman, doesn't matter, Republican or Democrat or both. It would be even stronger if you had a Republican elected official as well as a Democratic elected official, doesn't matter what office. That adds a lot of strength to what you're trying to accomplish. A person who teaches Sunday school, a veteran, maybe a office holder in a local veterans organization, American Legion, VFW, one of the other veterans organizations. The staff people at these congressional offices, by their nature, they're political animals. They understand how politics works. They understand that a local elected official, someone who's elected on, say, a school board, a committee person, someone who's an office holder in any kind of group, Kiwanis, Lions Club, Elks Club, whatever it might be. They understand these people are also active in their community, that they interact with dozens, if not hundreds of people, and they can influence votes. That's why it's important to bring as many people as you can with your group that would be of that nature. The coach of the local sporting team, that would be good. They influence a lot of votes. Principal, school teacher, doesn't matter. Make that appointment. You go there with your talking points of what you want the congressman to support and want your congressman to vote against. There's going to be legislation introduced within the next week or two, anti-gun legislation of all kinds, and you need to be aware of very, very detailed awareness of the legislation you want your congressman to support, be a co-signer of, co-sponsor, and the legislation you want your congressperson to be against, specifically. And it has to be unequivocal. There can be no ifs, ands, or buts. We have pending legislation to make the purchase and possession of what's called silencers, what most of us call cans, suppressors. They're all synonyms, by the way. We need to move forward with that legislation. I'm not aware of what else we need to be supporting right now. Quite frankly, I haven't done any detailed homework. I know there's legislation to have nationwide concealed carry. I don't know what the status of that is, if there's actual bill number, but you need specific bill titles and bill numbers for your congressperson. And don't forget the senators. Do the same thing. Each state has 2 senators. Make an appointment to meet with a staff person for each senator and do the same thing. There's almost always, sometimes there's a time lag, but there's always a companion bill in the U.S. Senate to go along with whatever's in the U.S. House. In both houses, the Senate and the House of Representatives, both sides of Congress, there's going to be legislation to be supported and legislation to be opposed. You need to determine in detail what this legislation is so that when you walk in there, you don't sound like a complete blithering idiot. You know what legislation you want to support. you know what legislation you want to defeat. If you've got a question or comment, give us a call at 800-313-9443. I was looking at the news this morning about the shooter in Las Vegas. Apparently he had quite a collection of firearms, several of which had been modified with bump fire stocks. That's a different type of butt stock that, when properly installed and when the person is trained in the proper use, you can give the appearance of full automatic weapons fire. There's no laws concerning these devices, which are simple mechanical devices, by the way. This is not rocket science. These are the kind of things that anybody who can get a C- in high school could build one of these things. This is not complex mechanical devices. Simple, simple, simple. As firearms are in general, by the way. It's kind of ironic that a submachine gun has less complexity than a Civil War revolver. I'm serious when I say that, in terms of moving parts, complexity for manufacturing, complexity of the machine work, and so forth. A World War II submachine gun is less complex, easier to manufacture, cheaper to manufacture than a Civil War black powder revolver. How about that? That's my reality. We got a caller on hold here. We got Rick in Missouri. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning, John. I'm all for that simplicity. And if you take a 1911 apart and set the parts on the table, you're going to look under the table to see you must have dropped something. It seems like something that works that well should have more parts, but, there you go.
Right.
I was, this morning I happened to catch a fascinating interview by a Dr. Michael Wellner. I think his name is Wellner on Fox. And he was talking about the psychology. I don't know what this guy does for a living, but somehow he specializes in matters of this sort. And how you get up one morning and say you'd like to make this your life's work, I can't even fathom this. But
well, would you like to know how? Would you like to know?
Yeah, I get.
Okay. There's reference books, since I'm in this business, there's reference books that are target audiences for television and radio talk show hosts. That if you pay a subscription fee as a speaker or expert, you can be listed in this reference book. So many all the radio stations and TV stations, they have these reference books, so the people behind the scenes can instantly find an expert in anything that you need an expert in very quickly. But that's how they find it.
Kind of like Angie's List, but not really.
Right. It's more like it's a who's who book is what it is.
Sure. Well, I could see, if you're in that line of work, how that would really be symbiotic. Anyway, his take, when it comes to fixing wooden items, at least in this state, I'm about the last word on the subject, but when it comes to things like psychology and legal matters, I'm awful. But this guy just happened to agree with me, so I like him. He was thinking that these mass shootings, these crimes where you go out and you try to just hose down as many humans as possible to make a name for yourself, is by and large young man's crime. And if you can find this on the Fox News site from this morning, this Michael Wellner, it was a fascinating thing, and that was kind of my knee-jerk reaction is, what is the motive? I think everybody would just love to know what in the heck this guy's thinking. And what he said was, at this man's age, there had to have been some overarching manifesto, and it should be somewhere at his house, in his room, on his Facebook page. It's got to be somewhere, and that I know of. We haven't seen it, and I'm waiting, and I am concerned, of course, that the deep state, being what they are, being as crooked as they are, and they may or may never let us see that manifesto. And if they do, will they have altered it to support one of their agendas? I don't know.
Right.
What are you thinking about that?
Right. Well, I'm going to go back to the ISIS representative in Egypt. ISIS has a track record, and this is important, Rick. ISIS has a track record, and when they make a statement that a person who's committed one of these strange, bizarre, dangerous crimes, if ISIS says that they were part of one of their soldiers, it turns out they have been. So they have a track record, and part of this is marketing, by the way. As bizarre and crazy as ISIS is, they do want to maintain their credibility.
Well, credibility is important, yeah.
It is important because that's how they have to maintain their credibility to attract more money, to attract more recruits. So they have that going for them. When they say that this man was one of their soldiers, which is a code word for somebody who follows their way of thinking, not necessarily a member per se, that carries a lot of weight with it. Now, we're still at the early stages, and the speculation is running wild. Everything from videos on YouTube saying nobody died, the blood was red paint. That came out within hours, I'm sure. Which is...
I've seen all that. Yeah, there's some interesting theories out there.
Right. Nobody died. It was red paint, not blood. Well, that's a fantasy.
Well, that's the Sandy Hook author, too, I think. So...
Right. But that
they all
aside,
seem to write the same story. Yeah.
That aside, we will learn. Hopefully, we will learn the truth. One thing I'd be interested. I identified this woman, his girlfriend, as being Filipino rather quickly.
Yep.
Now,
I saw that.
The majority of Filipinos are Catholic. However, there's a percentage that are Muslim from the Southern Islands. I believe they are. And I don't know if it's been revealed if this woman, Filipino woman, is Catholic or Muslim. We may never know. But there's a percentage of Filipinos. It's not huge. It's fairly small, maybe 5 or 10%. You want to hold on through the break, Rick?
Yeah, I did have one more thing to say.
Okay. We have a break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman.com. Back, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. J.R. Moore here on Tuesday, the 3rd day of October. Rick, what's your follow-up comment?
Well, I just had one practical note here, and that is with regard to smoking anything that you would like to smoke in terms of protein, meat, fish. I've ruined a fair amount of expensive meat, making the same mistake, and I went to a high-end butcher shop where they specialize in this kind of thing. This is called Annie Guns at the far end of the Chesterfield Valley. Pricey place. but the guys there are very helpful and they are very knowledgeable. And I said, every time I try to smoke salmon or bacon, it winds up kind of smelling kind of trashy. It doesn't smell like the stuff you get at the store. And I said, what do you suppose is going wrong? And they said, this is simple. You're running your smoke too cold and you're getting creosote. Well, in the case of trying to smoke salmon, you don't want to cook that salmon. You want that to remain raw. So you're making lox, let's say, or bacon. You're keeping the temperature way down. The problem is, how do you run your smoke temperature hot and keep the meat cool so that you get a nice, crisp, light, smoky taste like you would from a professional without overcooking the meat or cooking salmon at all? And the answer is you have to go get 2 or 3 lengths of normal everyday stovepipe, hook them together, run your fire where you're burning your hickory or cherry or apple, whatever it is, burn that very hot, but then you want the smoke to run through the pipe so that it is cold when it gets to the meat, and that way you too may have professionally smoked lox or bacon, whatever it is you want to do, without getting that horrible trash fire creosote taste.
Well, that's good advice, and that's one of those things you have to learn by doing it, don't you?
Yep. I probably lost a couple $100 in decent meat trying it, but thank God there are people out there willing to teach. And I never think about these things till I'm riding along, and I think, well, maybe I should tell somebody. So there you go.
Okay.
Now hopefully that helps somebody.
Okay, we appreciate that, Rick.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Well, thank you. The call number is 800-313-9443. Let's get back to talking about this group of people you're going to put together to visit your congressperson. Best case scenario, of course, is a Second Amendment supporter who holds that office as in Congress or U.S. Senate. Worst case is somebody who is a co-sponsor of anti-gun legislation. Let's talk about worst case scenario. And we got a couple of people on hold here. It would be difficult, I know for me, I can't speak for anybody else, to remain calm and collected talking to the staff member of an anti-gun legislature. If you feel you can do that without bursting at the seams with your anger, then go ahead and go. If you can't, then it's going to hurt our cause. If you get in the face and are bursting at the seams with anger, that will not help our cause. In fact, they may end up calling security if you come across in that manner. Women tend to be better at controlling their emotions in that kind of environment than a man, but it could go either way, quite frankly. So in that worst case scenario, either you have people, including yourself, that can remain calm without having any visible signs of anger. What you feel inside is one thing. What you show on the outside is what's important. But the anti-gun congressmen and senators, they need to know that the opposition is organized and resolute, that they will defeat this person in the next election by making sure that a pro-Second Amendment candidate is well funded and backed up very strongly. Here's our bottom of the hour break. We got callers on hold. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. I've worked with men and women involved in the high-end shelters for years. With the Ozark Survival Homestead, you get things you don't get with the high-end shelters. You get a opportunity to be in the bunker, of course. You also get a home, a 60 by 90 lot. You get your storable food, your livestock share, your garden, greenhouse share, your seed bank share. One person to have everything they need, right at $25,000. For a family of three, $37,000. You really need to check this out. It's very unique. At my website, you'll see the Ozark Survival Homesteads on the left side of my homepage. Go there, read that one page, fill out the form with your name, your email address, and your telephone number, and I will forward that to the guys and gals at the Ozark Survival Homesteads. Check it out. You'll be very glad you did. Thank you very much. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Tuesday, the 3rd day of October. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. A week from today, I will be speaking at the Johnstown Senior Center in Johnstown, Colorado. That will be 7 p.m., Tuesday, the 10th of October. Free admission. I'll look forward to seeing, probably 60 or 75 of you there. We're turning out a little bit bigger crowds each time. And it'll be a lot of fun. Of course, also at my and then we got a banner for that at my website, by the way. Also, my website, of course, are energy cleaners for sale. This is my home business. When you place your energy cleaner order, I'm the guy that fulfills that order, boxes them up, takes them to the little country post office at Cherryville, Missouri, puts them on the counter, and off they go to Florida, California, Washington State, Maine, New York, the Philippines, Canada, England, Australia. A marvelous healing device. If you have issues with pain, it'll probably help. It could be joint pain, arthritis pain, back pain, doesn't matter. Most likely the energy cleaner will help. Not getting a great night's sleep? Yep, I use mine every night. I get a great night's sleep. Only $285 shipping included. Keep in mind, I offer, for me to you personally, a 30-day money-back guarantee. You can read up on the energy cleaner, study the how it came into being, the patent application information, look at the factory-made fitted mattress pads that go with the energy cleaner. Keep in mind, I take PayPal, the most secure way to make any payment online, MasterCard, Visa. And, of course, you can send me a check. My address is at my website, thelibertyman.com. My toll-free hour line, 24 hours a day, here it is, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. We're talking about the Second Amendment and the pending legislation that will be proposed following this horrific incident that happened in Las Vegas yesterday, late night, Sunday night. And we got some callers on hold. First we go to Jimmy Ginsling with Desert Eagle Shooters. Good morning, Jimmy.
Good morning, sir. Yes, boy, I'm glad you're bringing this up this morning. I missed the first few minutes of your run-in this morning also. You may have actually covered this. But I saw it first last night on national news, and a while ago turned over, and there it was again. Now, with your experience in psychological ops and everything else, the Big Three have found a picture of this piece of garbage that is shows him to be, I would guess, somewhere around 30 years old. Nice, young, clean-cut white guy. And instead of using the 65-year-old picture that they've been using, they're now using this one as the shooter. And I was wondering, your back... I can get some ideas why they're doing it, but in your background and everything, what would your assumption be on their means and method for doing this?
Well, first of all, the younger version has his eyes open as opposed to his eyes closed. That's one thing. A younger physically fit male does present more of a threat to most people most of the time. He doesn't look all that healthy, by the way, to me. He looks like he's got some serious bags under his eyes, which for a man that age is a bit unusual. Other than that, Why all the networks would choose that younger version is a matter of speculation, because we weren't privy to the focus group that made that choice. Okay. It's an interesting side note, but at this point in time, I think it's just a side note. Go ahead, Jimmy.
No, I was just curious because I know your background, and like I said, I may not have all the answers, but I know people to call.
Right, exactly.
But, one other quick note, and it regards the Second Amendment greatly this time. I got a phone call yesterday. As everyone knows, we've been recruiters for Second Call Defense for a long time. And question, John, when was the last time that you got a call from your insurance company and they told you they were going to offer you a larger number of benefits and everything on your insurance, and also going to knock 20% off of your monthly payments?
Well, the answer is I've had to do my own research to find any good deal. I've never had one spontaneously call me up and make a deal like that. No.
Well, I got a call yesterday from our main dealer rep, or actually recruiter rep. Teresa and mine's Second Call Defense program that I've talked about is $24.99 a month, and covers everything all the way down to cleaning the carpet and repainting the house if it has to get rid of what happened. Our rates and everything just dropped from $24.99 to $19.99 across the board on all the programs. So anybody after this incident and thinking about self-defense because of this and all, drop over to DesertEagleShooters.com and click on the banner link and take a look at it. I think you're going to be impressed, John. That's right. Just something I'll be quite honest with you, folks, we do make money off of this. I think we get 20 cents off of each one of our people that we recruit. So we're not going to get rich off of this. But to save all our listeners and everything 20% and get them better coverage, I just thought I'd give you a quick buzz this morning because I knew you'd have open lines.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's a good heads up. What we're going to see, Jimmy, is a dramatic increase in people buying firearms and getting concealed carry permits following what happened late Sunday night.
Yep. And in fact, I had 2 calls yesterday from a couple of people that my wife works with that have been kind of on the fence. And they asked me that, because I found out last night that they had mentioned to Teresa, and they called me to find out where to go to look at it. And I just told them just go to the web page and click on it there. And if they want, Teresa will bring in some new brochures. But the ones that she would bring in were going to be out of date because of the new benefits. But I just thought I'd hop in. But my main reason was not the Second Call Defense thing. It was the changing pictures on this guy.
Right.
And I appreciate it, sir. Have a great show.
Okay.
And tell Leon we said good morning.
Okay, thank you for the call. And next we go to Fred in Wisconsin. Good morning, Fred.
Yeah, I don't want to get too off the topic, but I had talked to you yesterday about some of the things I thought were happening. And then this morning, went on rents.com, and they've got some video that's just really alarming that was taken of the building, and it shows muzzle flash on the 4th or 5th floor, and it coincides with the gun. You can actually hear the gun and see the muzzle flash, and there's a second shooter, and this gun, it appears to be fully automatic of some sort. And I know you got a pretty good size audience. I think people should take a look at this. There's 2 or 3 on the internet. There's 2 or 3 people talking about it, but I saw the clip on rents.com, and it was like somebody walking around with a phone and decided to take pictures of the front of the building, and that's when they figured it out. So I don't understand why they're not talking about that, but there are people out there screaming it's a false flag. But that's out of my wheelhouse. I just wanted to pass it along. You have a good day, sir.
Okay, thank you. Well, having 2 shooters does not make it a false flag. That makes it 2 shooters. So these terms get bandied about with a misunderstanding of what evidence is and what it's not. So I'm looking at the video here from Rense.com, and so far it appears just to be a regular video of, now it's getting all discombobulated, which is probably the beginning of the shooting. I'm not going to try to look at that and do a radio show at the same time. What I've seen happens many times with these shootings is total chaos and total confusion while the shooting is taking place. It's quite common for even the authorities to believe there's two shooters when there's only one. And that's just the nature of these kind of events, to have that kind of confusion. Don't get too caught up in this. These initial reports frequently are wrong. People have theories that for the theory to be accurate, now I'm not talking about anything specific here, there would have to be cooperation among many dozens of people that would have to be part of it and agree to be part of it to obfuscate, confuse, and lie and present information that's not true or withhold information that is true. So I don't get too caught up in these things because I know I've seen enough of these events to know that the chaos is expected, and that's going to be part of it. I want to get back to the Second Amendment. This is very important because we're going to see unprecedented push. Now, if Hillary Clinton was president, we would see legislation supported by the president, a very, very strong anti-gun legislation that would be introduced and ready for debate and votes in Congress, probably within the next week or two. Obviously, with President Trump, that's not going to happen. I don't believe this president will support anti-gun legislation. That's my belief until I see something different. I don't believe that that's something this man will do. I do fully expect, however, to see anti-gun legislation introduced, not only at the federal level, but at the state level. And that's something we need to talk about a little bit that we haven't talked about. State level, state legislation in the 50 states. Same thing applies. You need to determine who your state representative is, who your state senator is. We have a level of ignorance in this country, by the way, of our legislative process that is pretty breathtaking. A friend of mine, I will not name him, but he's a veteran. He is a graduate of a brick and mortar university. He wrote a book, and it was published concerning his area of expertise, which he has had his own business with anywhere from 4 to 8 employees, which is a nice sized payroll to meet. A man who, has been successful in his personal life as well as professional life. He's a great guy, bright, articulate, successful businessman. I'm trying to lay a little groundwork here. Now, in his mid-50s, this is about 15, 16 years ago, we were having a discussion over lunch, and I found out that he did not know there was a difference between a United States senator and a state senator, between a United States representative and a state representative. He didn't know they were two different things. Now, that's scary when you have a man of that stature, a bright, articulate, university graduate, successful in his chosen career, published author of a real book that really is in the Library of Congress. Now, of somebody of that stature who has a 4-year degree from a brick and mortar university, successful in his chosen career, a bright, articulate gentleman, owns his own business. If a man of that stature does not know there's a difference between a United States senator and a state senator, I'd say we're in big trouble. Because well, about 40, depending on what you read, 40 to 50% of the adults in this country are either illiterate or functionally illiterate, one or the other. That's where we are as a country, as a culture. Now, at the level of U.S. Congress, these men and women elected to Congress, they're very aware of what I'm saying because they have focus groups and they discuss these things. I was at a meeting. It was actually 3 days of meetings with a woman who has been in the past the campaign manager, not member of a campaign, but the campaign manager for several U.S. presidential campaigns. And at these meetings, it was her and two of her top staff people discussing political strategy. And one of the topics that came up was the ability of all successful candidates at that level, presidential candidate, U.S. Senate, U.S. Congress, to segue from the way they normally talk in their normal, educated, articulate fashion to segue to talk at a third grade level, which is what Donald Trump does. And that was one of the topics, was the success and how good Donald Trump is at talking from his normal, educated, articulate self to speaking so the common man can understand him and think he's one of them. I'm old enough to remember when Adlai Stevenson ran against President Eisenhower. That would have been, I think, 1956, if I'm not mistaken. So I would have been 9 years old. I'd been reading the paper for 4 or 5 years by then, by the way. And I recall just like yesterday, a headline that made no sense, a story that made no sense, saying that, quote unquote, Adlai Stevenson is too intellectual to be elected president of the States. And even as a 9-year-old, thinking, this can't be right. Something's wrong. How, and in my very mature 9-year-old brain, I thought, how is it possible for a man to be too intellectual to become president of the United States? It didn't make sense to my 9-year-old brain. It wasn't until many years later that I came to understand that that is factual. That is true. That if you have speaking ability, public speaking ability at a university level professor with that level of grammar, that level of articulation, that level of vocabulary, that you cannot and will not get elected president of the United States if you speak in public in that manner. Privately you can, but not publicly. That's an unfortunate reality, but that is reality. We have a break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Tuesday, the third day of October. Okay, Bloomberg, the anti-gun New Yorker, has had some success financing anti-gun legislation in various states. I recall a couple of years ago in Washington State, where my daughter lives, I was here when the TV campaign was being run. Very sophisticated, very slick, excellent lies that they were telling. They gave the impression that a person can go on gunbroker.com, a website where firearms are bought and sold, and that a non-gun dealer could purchase a firearm through this website and make their payment and have it UPS delivered to their door, which of course you can't do that. But they gave the impression with their advertisement that you could do that. And I have to admit, these people are brilliant at obfuscation, at lies, and convincing people of something is true that absolutely is not true. And the legislation passed to make it more restrictive and more difficult to purchase firearms in the state of Washington. So I expect that there will be attempts at the state legislature level as well as the United States Congress to have anti-gun legislation passed. They're going to focus on states where they think they can be successful with their sophisticated propaganda, the money that they put into it, and you need to be very diligent and be aware of anti-gun legislation at your state capital, wherever that might be, in the 50 states. Very diligent and very aware. And do the same thing. When you find out that legislation is pending, either pro-gun or anti-gun, doesn't matter. Now, at the state level, you can probably meet one-on-one with your state rep or your state senator. That's actually a fairly easy thing to do. And you should do that. A lot of times, these state reps and state senators don't even have a staff. They may have somebody that will take a message for them, but they don't have a staff per se, like a U.S. congressman or congresswoman would have. So, in this case, you make an appointment to meet in person with your delegation, and they should be people that live within the district of that state rep or that state senator. You make an appointment for your delegation of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I wouldn't get more than 6 or 8. That would be too many. You don't want to go in there with a busload of people. And you politely state your case of what you want this congresswoman, this state rep or state senator to support or to vote against. Be sure you keep a level head. It will hurt our cause if you go in there red-faced angry. You can't control your emotions. That will hurt our cause. It will not help us. Seriously. Now, if you're approaching a pro-gun state rep or a pro-gun state senator and you show some emotion in support of something or against it, that's okay. Here's our top of the hour break. We hope to be back with Leon Green. Stay tuned. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here, our second hour on Tuesday, the 3rd day of October. Proper tip of the day. Excellent new movie, just came out a few weeks ago. I'm going to give you the title and tell you how to get a hold of it. I've watched about a third of it. It's excellent, very well done. I'll be watching the rest of it later this morning. The name of the movie is In Search of Liberty. It's a movie about the U.S. Constitution, very professionally shot, Hollywood quality movie, hour and a half long, more or less. The way to get your hands on it is the following website, insearchofliberty.com. That's insearchofliberty.com. Very well done. I believe every home in the United States should have a copy of this movie. That's how strongly I feel about it. And you need to get several copies so that everyone in your family can watch it as well. Seriously, I'll hope to be interviewing some people associated with this film over the next week or so. We will work diligently on getting them as a guest here on the John Moore Show. That's your prepper tip of the day. We have patient waiting to Green with my friend Leon Green. Leon is a gentleman who's taken the time, made the effort to become quite knowledgeable of all the many ways that incorporating doTERRA essential oils into your daily life can help you have the fun, full, happy, healthy life that we all want to have. Leon, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How you doing, Mr. Moore? How's life?
Well, I am fantastic. How about you, sir?
Yeah, I'm just about to go on another trip, and I have to repair my serpentine belt, so I just got to the shop right now. I'm going to give them the keys and continue the conversation.
A serpentine belt for your Toyota that's been tricked out?
That's correct. They said there's some cracks in it, and I'm just about to go on a 5,000-mile drive, and I don't like to...
Whoa, baby. Yeah. Well, I always keep a spare serpentine belt in all my vehicles. because if you need it and you don't have it, any shop can replace it. It's simple procedure. But if you're on a small village in Montana or Utah, it may be 24 hours before they can get one. So having one with you could save a lot of time. And that's one of the weak points in these modern vehicles, is these serpentine belts.
Yes, sir.
So, Leon, obviously, the big news is what happened just before midnight Sunday night in Las Vegas. I was just watching a video, amateur video that's on rinse.com. It's pretty shaky, but I'll be watching that again to see if I can see muzzle flashes from someplace other than the 32nd floor of that Mandalay Bay hotel. You and I are both gun guys, and there's more evidence coming out of the extensive collection of firearms this gentleman owned, Paddock, and apparently he had modified 2 or more to become what's called bump fire rifles, where a simple mechanical device is installed on the firearm that allows to simulate a full automatic weapons fire. The authorities are alluding on each occasion to one full automatic weapon in the arsenal that he had, and I think once you get up around 40 firearms, it may be proper to call it an arsenal. With no description of what that firearm might be. Now, this was a man of considerable financial ability, so he may very well have owned a M60 or some similar belt-fed firearm. That remains to be seen. Regardless, as I was mentioning the first hour, usually listen to part of my show, Leon, I'm putting people on notice to make appointments with their state reps and U.S. reps to go to these offices and oppose anti-gun legislation and to support pro-gun legislation. Do you have any follow-up on that, Leon?
Well, I agree with you. I do the same thing here in Colorado when they started doing the magazine bans, and we were following the same stupidity as California was. And so, yes, I stood in front of Colorado Congress and told them, I had my 2 children saying, if you're going to make these bans effective, you're going to make law-abiding citizens and veterans felons, because they're not going to stop protecting their children just because of your stupid laws.
Right. Well, good for you. Good for you. Well, Leon, needless to say, we've got several thousand people in this country and probably other countries who had friends and relatives that were at this Las Vegas event, friends and relatives who were either traumatized or injured or shot to death. And these people are going to be experiencing this trauma, post-traumatic stress for weeks, months, and years into the future. Yes, and that's where our favorite products to help people deal with this with doTERRA essential oils. That's where these oils come in, don't they, sir?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, remember we talked about the emotional blends? Those oils have been designed specifically by scientists and experts that pertain to the limbic system. So we have some that are, one is called Console. Another blend by doTERRA specifically is called Forgive. And another one, Peace. So because of the benefits of the oils going into the limbic system, so when you breathe them in, it goes through your nasal, the olfactory system, and the limbic system is the only system in the entire body that has a straight shot right to the brain. The rest of them all go through the other vortices in the brain and get filtered, vision, hearing. But the limbic system is the only one known that goes straight to the brain. So when you inhale these oils, certain ones are very, very calming. So yes, you could be in a life and death situation. Your house could have burned up or blown away with the Irma and Harvey. Down in yes, down in Houston. So, when you're dealing with stress like that, or if you're on the go because of an evacuation, you're going to have lots of emotional trauma, and especially when it comes to PTSD, which is is typically when they've done studies with the millions of people in combat, they found out that PTSD or in life and death situations that are man-made. So the man in Nice, France, driving the truck through the crowd of thousands of people, or the shooters in Vegas. Those are man-made, and because of that, there are more tendency to have PTSD than when it's something natural, like a hurricane or a tornado or a flood that wasn't impacted by somebody like the Corps of Engineers or things like that. So as long as it's not a man-made impact, people have a tendency to be more recuperative. Whereas when it's the psychosis or evil of man, it seems like PTSD is more prevalent.
Well, I got a personal follow-up on that. I got back from my first day of flying combat missions. We would fly 3 a day. I'd only been out of high school 16 months. I was 20 years old. I get back from my first day of flying combat missions, and the men flying the plane and the crew chief, Grady, we called him, he was old enough to be my father. He was a World War II veteran. So I said, Chief, Sergeant, whatever I called him, I guess I called him Sergeant. I said, Sergeant, my stomach doesn't feel so good. He said, young trooper, come with us to the bar, to the NCO club. We'll fix you up. So I went with him, and they said, what you need, young trooper, is a rum and Coke. And I never drank hard liquor in my life. And I said, okay, I trusted these guys. You know, my life depended on their expertise and knowledge. Right. So I said, okay, I'll have a rum and Coke. And they were right. It did settle down in my stomach. Now, short term, well, seriously, you know, short term, there's nothing wrong with rum and Coke. But long term, it's unhealthy and can lead to serious long-term health issues, to use alcohol, to deal with the trauma of being in combat. I didn't know about, obviously, what do I know as a 20-year-old? I didn't know about essential oils or the healthy ways to deal with that kind of trauma. But being in these men and women who went through what happened just before midnight Sunday night, that was combat. There's no two ways about it. That was combat. Being shot at for 72 minutes with automatic weapons, that's a really long time. Most firefights last, just 3 to 5 minutes, quite frankly. So I'm going to encourage everybody who's and just watching. If you had a friend or a relative who went through that and you're watching it on television, you're experiencing secondhand trauma as well. So as opposed to using rum and Coke to deal with this kind of trauma, I'm going to encourage people to do it the healthy way and deal with trauma by getting doTERRA essential oils like Peace and the others that Leon mentioned. And here's how you do it. First of all, send me an email. My email address is thelibertyman@AOL.com. That's thelibertyman@AOL.com. By return email, I will send you my doTERRA website link. It's pretty simple and straightforward. You may want to get yourself 2 copies of 2 books. They're both essential oils, is the title. The first is the 5th edition of Essential Oils. Oh, no, disregard. Modern Essentials. You should have corrected me here, Leon. Modern Essentials. You just sit there and let me make an idiot of myself. Modern Essentials.
No, I don't.
Okay. Modern Essentials, 5th edition. Modern Essentials, 9th edition, which just came out last month in September. They're both available at Amazon.com. And you got the tools you need. You got the educational tools and the access. The educational tools are the books. The access is the my doTERRA website link. And we have all kinds of trauma in our lives. It may be an out-of-control teenager. It may be an issue with work. It could be an issue with money. There's all kinds of trauma that are part of daily lives. Some obviously more serious than others. I mean, if the transmission on your Ford pickup truck goes out and you don't have the $3,000 to fix it, that's trauma. So whatever it might be, there's healthy ways to deal with trauma, and the doTERRA essential oils will help you deal with it in a healthy way that will long-term have no ill effects, as opposed to consuming alcohol or prescription pharmaceutical products. Right, Leon?
Absolutely. And when you were talking about that, the alcohol, when you were saying long-term, I was thinking about cirrhosis of the liver, and the Coca-Cola would be indicative of it. Diabetes. So I agree with you that the oils, and many people discount them, especially men, because they're like, it just smells good. I mean, there's over 40,000 studies. I mean, there's 6 studies alone on peppermint and allowing the brain to think better and more efficiently, and increasing mental recall up to 60%, just breathing it. So they've done tests in universities where students are stressing out over, their grades and staying in college and not getting kicked out, losing a scholarship and moving, and all the things attached to college life. But when they did these studies, they found that just breathing peppermint oil increased their recall by up to 60%. That's compared to people sitting right next to them who didn't have any capacity to do that, and they did not do so well. And so, it is for men who don't know about it. It makes a lot of sense for them to be able to see how they can apply something as simple as an oil to their nose or to their chest or sublingually, and have it improve their mood, and especially when you're dealing with something like PTSD or the trauma that's occurred in the last 48 hours.
I agree, Leon. And I have to admit, when I was a young man in my teens, 20s, and even in my 30s, I would not have been very receptive to this message. I simply wouldn't. I was busy with education and career during my teens, 20s, and 30s, being a soldier, being a young investigator, and so forth. And I would not have been very receptive to this message, which is true for most American men most of the time, especially teens, 20s, and 30s. I would say as I got to my early to mid-40s, I became more open and more receptive to matters of this nature, where as a younger man, I wouldn't have been. And that's pretty much the paradigm and pretty much what you would expect with American men, isn't it, Leon? Leon, are you there? Hello, Leon. Did we lose Leon?
Yes, sir. No, you didn't lose me. I'm sorry. I was just getting out of the truck, and I don't want you to hear all the background noise. But
okay.
I agree with you 100% in that. What the average person here in America is taught just by watching, an hour of TV is a number of drugs. You take these drugs for this issue. It doesn't matter if it's ED or stress or sleep or headaches, but then they seem to gloss over the last, 10% of the commercial where it says this may cause nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, suicidal depression, and death. And so,
all right, they always leave death for the end, don't they?
Yes, sir, and they do it really fast.
Leon,
they do that intentionally.
I'm visiting my daughter. She has television, of course, like most Americans. So I watched television last night, which I almost never do that. I don't have TV at my home. And after a couple of hours of that, I said to my son-in-law, "Oh yeah, this is why I don't have television."
What did he say about that response?
He kind of laughingly agreed, because it's hard to have children in modern age and not have TV, although I know families that don't.
Yes.
But it's pretty dismal. It really is. Television is pretty dismal, and it's automobiles and pharmaceutical products are what they promote for the most part, along with fast food. And it's just the nature of our modern society, and anything you can limit children's exposure to television, I think, is a good thing. And adults are no better. I think the average American adult watches 3 to 4 hours per day per person.
I believe it's closer to 5 hours, and children are in 8+ category. Yes, sir.
Oh, that is scary. That is really scary.
Yeah,
I don't want to
think about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you there's a statement. If you read 10 books on any subject, you become an expert on there. And I forgot the number of hours of watching. But think about it. If they took that time, and whether they want to learn another language, another, 5 hours a day is crazy waste of time. But everybody knows remember when Friends...
Hold that thought. Hold that thought.
Yep.
Hold that thought. We have a break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman.com. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Tuesday, the 3rd day of October. Visiting with Leon Green. We're talking about doTERRA essential oils. If you want to get started with doTERRA essential oils, here's what you do. First of all, send me an email. My email address is thelibertyman@aol.com. And by return email, I will send you my doTERRA website link. And then get yourself 2 copies of the following book. Modern Essentials, 5th edition, which came out several years ago, and the 9th edition, which just came out in September. You need both. They're both excellent. They both are standalone in their own merit. Then you've got what you need to get started. In addition, if you need a private consultation, you can call Leon at his office telephone and set up that first private, no-charge consultation. Leon, what is that office telephone number, Mountain Time?
Yes, it's 303-495-2188.
That's 303-495-2188. That's Leon's office number. Call him up during office hours, Mountain Time, and make that appointment for that consultation. I know people don't want to discuss their personal medical situation in front of several thousand people on the radio, and I respect that. But these conversations with you, Leon, are personal and confidential, aren't they?
Absolutely. It's just like the HIPAA issues. It's between them and I, and we address the issue. And if they want to include others, then a lot of times we'll do 3 ways to find out how the parents are doing or whatever the case is.
Right. So, trauma. Obviously, clearly, with what happened, the worst mass shooting in the history of the United States of America that took place just before midnight local time in Las Vegas, Sunday night, or going into Monday morning. We have a lot of people dealing with trauma all over the United States, and there's going to be more of the incidents. There's speculation, Leon, that Mr. Paddock, and it's based up with some evidence. We have the ISIS representative in Egypt claiming very forcefully that Mr. Paddock had affiliated himself with ISIS. ISIS does have a track record of being truthful when they make these statements. Well, I've seen no evidence to back that up yet other than these statements from ISIS. That remains to be seen. But we do know for a fact that ISIS has operatives in this country that do mean to cause harm to innocent Americans all over the country. the selection of this venue, I think, was by design to get people in a confined area, 22,000 people in a confined area, shooting from a elevated position, giving the shooter the maximum opportunity to cause as much carnage as possible. 59 people dead, 525 wounded is the last numbers I saw. So people are dealing with trauma, and the healthy way to deal with it, as opposed to alcohol or pharmaceutical products, is with essential oils, isn't it, Leon?
Absolutely. I mean, many people also prayer and relaxation. I mean, when you're breathing the oils and you do deep breathing is remarkably effective in calming people down. And I believe in many of the schools, the military schools, and some of the schools I've gone to, even in the civilian capacity, deep breathing when you're dealing with stress. Over the summer, I took a class that was a anti-terrorism class, and one of the ones they talked about was dealing with breathing. And so I cheated in the class, and I was able to cheat. And then I brought the oils, and it allowed me to even be more relaxed than my colleagues who were suffering the same torture. And so that was a made-up scenario, but they were trying to convince us to stay in condition yellow. And if you are not aware of your surroundings, the immediate exits, people who look sketchy, if you're not prepared for that, you can be abducted. And then and that was the very beginning of the class. And right after that, they talked about and then they showed these beheadings, both in Mexico and throughout the world. And they're like, these are the people who were in condition white. We weren't paying attention. We weren't focused.
That's right.
And so when I said I cheated, it's because I had the oils. I touched into my nose, and I did extremely deep breathing to calm down my distress. And they were tasing us as they were pouring the water. And
there you go.
Having these,
hold that thought,
oils,
Leon. Hold that thought. We have a break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. I've worked with men and women involved in the high-end shelters for years. With the Ozark Survival Homesteads, you get things you don't get with the high-end shelters. You get a opportunity to be in the bunker, of course. You also get a home, a 60 by 90 lot. You get your storable food, your livestock share, your garden, greenhouse share, your seed bank share. One person to have everything they need, right at $25,000. For a family of three, $37,000. You really need to check this out. It's very unique. At my website, you'll see the Ozark Survival Homesteads on the left side of my homepage. Go there, read that one page, fill out the form with your name, your email address, and your telephone number, and I will forward that to the guys and gals at the Ozark Survival Homesteads. Check it out. You'll be very glad you did. Thank you very much. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Tuesday, the 3rd day of October. Life does go on, despite the carnage of all the people that were killed and injured in Las Vegas. Life does go on, and we have other issues that continue to move forward, such as our project. It's the listeners and myself finding images of continents with new coastlines on television shows and movies. We have them going back to the mid-1950s now so far. If you like to watch movies and television shows, keep a sharp eye out. If you find an image of a continent with new coastlines, get that image to me. And as a thank you, you get your choice of any of my 5 DVDs. We now have listed more than a dozen at my website, movies and television shows, even a magazine article from Look Magazine, 1950, let's see, I think it's 52, I believe it is, 1952. It's a fascinating project, and I enjoy working with all of you to get those images located and get them posted. Also, my website, of course, are energy cleaners. I use mine every night. When I travel, I have a pad on the seat of my car. It helps those miles just melt away, along with the audiobooks that I listen to. I sleep on my pad every night. I wake up pain-free in the morning after a great night's sleep. You can also. If you have joint pain or arthritis pain or back pain, what are you waiting for? You're going to keep taking pharmaceutical products? It's not a healthy thing to do. Get yourself an energy cleaner. It's only $285, shipping included, American zip codes. I do take PayPal, MasterCard, and Visa. Yes, you can send me a check also to my address at my website at thelibertyman.com. Do your homework. Make your choice. Get your energy cleaner and the mattress pad to go with it. Call my toll-free order line. Here it is, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Don't forget I offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. Everything's right there at my website at thelibertyman.com. We're visiting with Leon Green. We're talking about doTERRA essential oils. If you've got a question or comment about the oils, give us a call. Are you already using them? Give us a call. If you're considering using them, want a little advice, we'll talk about that. No problem. If you need private consultation, private advice from Leon, give Leon a call at his office, Pacific business, Mountain Time business hours. That office telephone number for Leon is 303-495-2188. Well, Leon, as a country, as a nation, we're dealing with trauma. Now, all of us, the flags were ordered to fly half-staff yesterday by the President of the United States, as well they should. He's in Puerto Rico today. I believe he'll be in Las Vegas tomorrow to make some first-hand observations and give some aid and comfort to the victims and families of the victims in Las Vegas. It was really a cross-section of Americans, young, old, black, white, Asian, who were at this concert and enjoying the music, enjoying what they thought would be a fun evening, watching these performers. And next thing they know, they're being shot at with automatic weapons. Not what you would expect, is it, Leon?
Absolutely not, but it was almost a precursor. I was there in January 1st of this year in Vegas, and this is the first time I'd ever been there for a New Year's celebration. And after the attack in Nice, France last year, they had beefed up security on the entire South Las Vegas Boulevard Strip. And so all the major intersections had buses and trucks and construction things parked in. So in case they had another crazy person coming down the road driving through the crowd, they ended up blocking those off, and they had no bags, no backpacks, and because of that. And so I saw probably 2 or 3 companies of military guys in full regalia with M16s, body armor, and helmets, and then probably 300 plus police just on the, in the mile and a half that I walked. And I was like, wow. So after Nice was hit, they changed. But, they were part of terror is instilling fear, and they want to change. And that was one of the, and that's one of their goals. But, it's trying to change political ideologies, and without getting too political, it's impacting our way of life. And if the way Americans have to change are to be more situationally aware, and moms, and dads who are, privileged just driving through life and not texting on their phones are easy targets, and they take advantage of it. Whether they're a sexual predator or an abductor, they're doing that with teenagers all over the nation and the world, for that matter. And you've seen people, adults, falling into manholes and down elevator shafts because they weren't paying attention. So, if anything we talk about now is become more situationally aware.
Absolutely. I could not agree more, Leon. Well, if you're dealing with trauma, for whatever reason, whether it's related to the carnage in Las Vegas or something else, you need to be aware that essential oils, doTERRA essential oils, would be a healthy, productive way to deal with trauma instead of alcohol products, pharmaceutical products that long-term cause great harm, if not death. Quiet, thoughtful prayer is a very important part of this, isn't it, Leon?
Yes, sir. So, yes, I agree. And matter of fact, one of the new items that we came out was there's a professionally designed set of blends that are specifically for stretching and yoga. And so I know the Christians don't believe or don't like the idea of emptying your mind, and I'm the same way. When I hear people say, "Oh, I'm in the Christian yoga," it's almost paradoxical, but in essence, you can stretch and you can pray at the same time. And so these oils are known to allow you to focus and to calm down. And so this just came out, 2 weeks ago, and it was done by a professional who's world renowned, and she picked these oils working with scientists at doTERRA to find out the ones that were best. So you can put them in a diffuser, and even if you don't have a diffuser, if you touch the oil to your nose now becomes a diffuser. And so you'll be breathing that in for the next 2 to 4 hours, depending on your absorption and how much you put on. So you can use these oils to calm down. I mean, I think I told you about this man which his dog, we were doing a class on preparedness up in northern Colorado, and he had 2 dogs. One was blind, or nearly blind, and he tied the dog to a porch that wasn't his. It was in his own porch, so he wasn't aware of it. But the dog got under it and hung himself during the class, and it changed his life. He had been with the dog for 15 years, and he was under a massive amount of stress. And so the other people in the class had his children there. We prayed with him, but the first thing I gave him was frankincense, lavender, and also serenity, and a citrus oil. I made a blend, and he drove home the 70-some miles out of the mountains to his house. And he called me about a week later and said those oils allowed me to get home in one drive, because he was crying before he got the oils.
Right.
And it was part of the family. I mean, his kids were there with him, and they saw this dog was hung, and we tried to resuscitate him, but it had already been 15 years. I mean, I'm sorry, 15 minutes in which the dog had already, it was already cold. So it was very quick. Whereas, there are some oils that you can use, when you're doing CPR, and you can do CPR on dogs as well, just like you do them on babies. You're just a bit more, you modify the technique. And you don't have to do mouth to mouth. They find that, they still have 75% success with chest compressions. And so when I take the combat medic classes and the ER classes, that's one of the ones they say, okay, people who don't have mouth amps and they don't have the techniques for that, do the chest compressions until, EMT gets there. And so once you get started, you can't stop. So all these things, under the stress that man was under and his family, those oils had a huge impact. So, people discount it, but when a member of your family you've known for 15 years dies in front of you, it affects your ability to drive home pretty cogently and safely. So he said, yes, they made a huge difference. So, and people discount it. It's just a dog, but, watch the movie John Wick 2. It's just a dog, too, and you see the carnage that was attached to that. So it's quite prevalent to realize that you can impact emotions with something as simple as an oil, because your brain is attached to it limbically.
Right. Well, I agree absolutely. I never really owned dogs until I was living out in the country. I didn't think it was fair to the dog to own the dog in the city and not let it have the life a dog should have. And it didn't occur to me how the dog becomes part of the family and how attached you become to them until I actually had dogs of my own. And it's a very true statement, Leon. They all have their own unique little personality, and they are very special critters. But the oils will help you in daily life. Whether you're a high-performing athlete like my grandson, who's got a college scholarship playing football, or you're dealing with chronic health conditions that may be debilitating, or anywhere in between, the oils will help you to achieve your goals, won't they, Leon?
Yes, sir. These are the tools, just like you described it. You know, if you have the tool and you apply it, it's great. But if you don't have the tools and now you're just at your own vices, and typically the vices are, you know, nicotine, caffeine, and alcohol. And so, you know, none of those are, and drugs for that matter. So those are not going to be effective ways to combat stress and mourning. And so, and you see on TV, you know, you see the prayer vigils, and it's to get the people together to realize that, hey, God has a huge impact. And then you get the atheists come out saying, well, where's your God now? And it rains on the sinner and the saint alike. And so you're gonna see the pushback right now. You already see the idiot politicians saying, hey, we need to take all the guns away. And I watch, you know, America and Serbia have the highest numbers per capita of guns in the world. If that's the case, we should also have the highest murder rates, and that's not the case. Honduras and El Salvador win that hands down. We're number 94 in the world. So, you know, their rationale and the stupidity is just renowned. And so it's going to be, it's just going to be a travesty. You see how it'll get worse. And, you know, if you look biblically, yes, the book of Revelation talks about the amount of carnage. And so these are the birth pangs. And I'm saddened, very saddened to see this. And having gone to the city, and I'm going there again next week. So I realize that we have to change our habits and also change our awareness.
Right. Well, we have a man on the ground, Chris in Las Vegas. We asked him yesterday to visit some of these hospitals and to speak with friends and relatives of victims who are in the hospital to get some firsthand reporting. So chances are there'll still be people receiving hospital care when you go there. And is it next week, you say, Leon?
That's going to be there. I'm going to leave Thursday.
Oh, you're leaving Thursday, as in the day after tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'll be there for a week. Yes.
Yeah, there'll still be people receiving treatment in these hospitals from these injuries suffered. And the pushback from the anti-gun people will be immediate. It's already started. And we need our own pushback to preserve the Second Amendment. We've found out the last 2 years that trucks are very effective at murdering dozens of people, and that's not going to go away. If you are willing to give up your life in order to murder dozens of people, you'll find a way to do it with or without firearms, won't you, Leon?
Absolutely. I mean, more people are killed, and I was looking at these FBI statistics last night. More people are killed with hands and feet, twice as many than when in America than firearms are. So, you know, at what point does the rationale and the emotional appeal or irrational appeal, you know, stop? Because if more people are killed with that, and then you have cars, are they going to have everybody walking around with no ability to open a box? I mean, it's
right.
all fear-based by what they're doing
right
now, and it's disconcerting.
One of the many murders that I worked as an investigator, the murder weapon was a pair of cowboy boots, which were prominently displayed as the murder weapon of the crime that was committed. So yes, almost anything can be used to murder people, and trucks are easily and readily available anywhere on the planet and are readily used as weapons of mass destruction. And that's not going to change. There may be enhanced security at these large venues, but the smaller venues that happen in communities, thousands of communities all over the United States, they can't possibly be protected from a determined suicidal individual with a truck, can they, Leon?
No, sir. They cannot do that. If you ever get a chance to check out, I finished that book called The Day of Wrath by William Forstall, who is the original guy who wrote 1 Second After. And so that was about the EMP, but then he did one on terrorists nationwide, in which they hit all these elementary schools, and then they went after the parents and all the first responders going to these schools, and they weren't going after big cities. These are small town places, Massachusetts, Reno, and so they wanted to strike the, you know, they always call it the Great Satan. Yeah, the heart of the Great Satan. And so their goal was to say, okay, you think you're invincible in the big cities? Well, we're going to go after you in small towns. So this book was very eye-opening, thinking that, hey.
I just wrote it down. I'll probably get it on my Kindle before the day's over. We got a caller and holder. We got Wolverine Fred from Michigan. Good morning, Wolverine Fred.
Hey there, John. Go
ahead. Go ahead.
I can guarantee this is a premeditated, staged event. All you got to remember is Sheldon Adelson, the casino guru dude, 3 years ago, sponsored a global conference in Tel Aviv regarding the future of Iran and Syria, etc. And the ultimate conclusion was they would have to be nuked at some point in time, naturally, because the chosen people, the satanic, Talmudic, Kabbalah, Zohar, Shabbat.
Hold that thought, Fred. We got our last break. Stay tuned. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Tuesday, the 3rd of October. Fred, can you summarize your thoughts in 30 seconds? We're real close to the end here.
Well, John, there has been, for the last 100-plus years, most insidious, nefarious, covert plan, international plan of subterfuge and global tyranny, as you know. And interestingly, it involves, in Europe, what's called the Coudenhove-Kalergi plan, the genocide of the European people via forced migration and what they call miscegenation.
Right. Fred, we're getting into there. We don't have time to get into all this esoteric stuff. There's only got less than 2 minutes, but we do thank you for your call, sir. Okay, Leon, concluding our conversation here, we want to help people to get through this trauma in a healthy manner, don't we?
Absolutely, and I pray for the families and all the people involved, the EMT and the responders, and also the veterans that were there helping, with immediate care. So, they've been traumatized as well, and I feel that the doTERRA oils can be very effective in helping them de-stress and relax as much as they can, because they're going to be dealing with these issues for years. And even people on my team are working with the Sandy Hook victims of that elementary school massacre as well, and they're using the oils, and that's the only holistic treatment that is being allowed there, the Sandy Hook, with both the counselors and the students and the parents and the teachers. So that's the only techniques that they're using there that have been approved by the school board. So, you can use these oils naturally at home as well in a corporate setting. So there's so many benefits, and I look forward to helping as many people as possible.
Absolutely. Leon, I want to thank you for being with us. We're about to wrap up the show here, and we'll have you back next Tuesday, sir.
Sounds good. Have a great day.
Okay, appreciate it. As I mentioned, the perfect tip of the day is to get your hands on a copy, probably multiple copies. Once you watch it, you're going to want multiple copies for other friends and family members. The movie titled In Search of Liberty, the website to get your hands on this and watch the trailer, InSearchOfLiberty.com. That's InSearchOfLiberty.com. I've been in touch with the producers and hope to have somebody on here soon to talk about the movie in more detail. It's a very well done, very professional movie. I think you'll get a lot of it. Wednesday, tomorrow, we should have Professor McCanny with us, first hour. Second hour, I believe, will be open. Thursday, I hope that Tim Spencer can be with us. He's recovering from having his left leg amputated. But if he's available, he will be with us. Friday, first hour, we'll talk about emergency communications with Tom Berryhill. The second hour, health-related matters with Dr. Myers. In the meantime, get your medical supplies, your energy cleaner, essential oils now while you can, your firearms ammunition. Never, ever give up your guns. Please do have a fun, safe, productive day. And God bless America.